Welcome to Sip, Sell, Repeat, the real estate podcast for women who know success is best served with a great cup of coffee or a well-earned glass of wine. I'm Dr. Cynthia Tant, your go-to real estate expert, here to help you navigate the market with strategy, style, and a little bit of fun. Whether you're flipping your first property, scaling your portfolio, or just dreaming about your next big move, this is the place for you. So grab your drink of choice, settle in, and let's sip, sell, and repeat our way to success. Let's get started. Hi, this is Dr. Cynthia Tant at Sip, Sell, Repeat, and I have the fortunate pleasure to be talking with Chaney. I believe I got it right. Did I get it right?
That's right.
Today, and I'm going to let her tell herself a little bit about who she is, what she does in real estate, and also fun things, family things, whatever we want to share today, because I know those of you ladies that are on board or want to know what are some of the things we need to do in our business, how do we share, just have some conversation about some things that may be happening to us in the field. So you take it away, give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Great. My name's Chaney Compher. I'm from Washougal, Washington, which is a little town outside of Vancouver, Washington, near Portland, Oregon. I've been in real estate for 9 years, just about 9.5 years now. My husband is a full-time firefighter for 33 years. He also got licensed 4 or 5 years ago as kind of my wingman. And we have deep roots in this area. We've got 3 boys that we've raised together, one new grandbaby, and then a niece with a son, kind of a bonus baby as well. Before that, I was in hospitality for 20 plus years, all the way from a barista, working my way up to upper management, and then fine dining, wait staff, and cocktail waitressing, which I always say is like what really prepared me for the luxury space in
Yeah.
fine dining. So I'm also a yoga instructor for 14 years now. I do a lot in the women's empowerment space. I'm not teaching as much. I haven't been teaching as much, but I'm kind of starting up again now that I've got babes leaving the nest. Yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell.
Well, it's very interesting because I currently have 3 real estate agents that are in their, let's see, one's only 22, believe it or not, and two 28, 32, all restaurant, all
Yeah.
hospitality. I used to eat at the restaurant they all worked at, or 2 of them out of the 3. And so I go, you kind of would be good at this. And they go, now they're part-time because they still think they need to be servers and bartenders and stuff like that. But the personality is there
Yeah.
and talking to people. And so how did you see that shift and how did you get involved in, because you said your husband was your wingman, but you started before him. So
Yeah.
how did you get that shift in that mindset? Okay, well, I'm on tips or whatever, but let's go into real estate.
Yeah, so I actually kind of was shamed into it by a family member. I was floating in a pool with my brother in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he kind of said, is this all you're going to do? You're just going to be a cocktail waitress? You have all this potential. And so he kind of challenged me to get my real estate license, and I literally got licensed within like 3 months. I came home and just did it almost like as a in spite of him. And he was right. I was really comfortable in my cocktailing career. I
Right.
had a great schedule, didn't have to take work home. My boys at the time were maybe kindergarten and third grade, maybe first and fourth grade. So they were in school, so there was space. We were actually building a house at the time, so we were living in a 30-foot RV travel trailer on
Oh
the
gosh.
of 5 acres in the middle of nowhere. In the home that I'm sitting in now, we were building, but so I kind of used the studying and getting my real estate license as something to kind of focus on while we were building the house and I was living in the RV. So the boys would go to bed and I would sit in the little dining room area of our RV and I would study and drink black coffee until late into
There you go, sipping the coffee.
yeah.
Or maybe
And then
guzzling the coffee.
yeah, and then like your real estate agents, I tried to do both for quite a while because, I didn't trust myself enough to just jump in and take a leap. And so I was, my first few years of real estate were pretty slow because I was trying to do both. And then finally, I took a very uncomfortable leap into, exclusively selling real estate. And it was the best thing I ever did.
What, since you said uncomfortable, what did though finally you said, I've got to stop doing
Really,
bartending or
truly,
whatever it was to
honestly,
get into to do it full time?
yeah, honestly, I was bullied into it by my
Really?
real estate coach,
Okay.
by people who loved and cared about me and believed in me. I mean, I was like pressured. I didn't want to at all. I'd probably still be doing it if I could. Oddly enough, I have an assistant working with me now that works at the same restaurant that I used.
Okay.
And she's a licensed real estate agent. She has been for a few years now. And my goal is to get her empowered enough to eventually get out of the industry too. I think it's a great industry. I've got great friends that do it. Also, I think some of us just need to be pushed a little harder.
Well, I think some of the, what's the word I want to use? Some of those skills of
Yeah.
dealing with people have
Yeah.
to relate into real estate because it's great when you have a buyer or seller that's just a dream to work with. But when you have a buyer or seller that's just a nightmare, what were some of the things that, do you have any stories? Do you have anything that has popped up in your life that I said, oh my gosh, why did I take this person? Why am I working with this person? And then how you came about, like, okay, I'm going to survive or what? You got anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think even just going back into hospitality, I worked for a great company. They were super focused on training and customer service, and the customer's always right. And I just was always trained. It's all about creating the experience, and the experience that you provide for these people that come in to dine with you could be having a horrible day. They could have just lost a child. They could be dealing with a divorce. Like, we don't know. And our goal was always to just give them like an experience that they would really remember. And I remember just like dealing with tough people, especially in fine dining, because, they thought they were so important. They thought they were more important than all my other tables. Like, he had the $300 bottle of wine, so he wanted all of my attention. Just remembering, like, normally when people are a little bit challenging, they are for a reason. And so, I try to always, even in real estate, it's just like setting my own inhibitions aside and just being like, I'm just going to create this experience. I'm going to make sure that at the end of every conversation, at the end of every interaction that I have with them, that they leave really, truly trusting and knowing that I care. And that's where the hospitality industry kind of brainwashed me into that. Like, the customer was always right. They had to leave happy. And so, and it's a part of like who I am as a real estate agent. And it's the way I run
Right.
my business.
Well, that's excellent because,
Yeah.
sometimes we do have challenging.
Yeah.
I have one right now that on vacation, my past weekend, when I took a vacation away, I said, look, I have assistants, I have other agents, I have an associate broker. I don't have to be in contact with you for 4 days. He literally, I swear, there's 3,000 texts on my phone. I just stopped. I said, I'm on vacation. We are
Yeah.
not doing anything with this transaction for 2 weeks. Can you just chill?
Yeah. Yeah. I have had a few challenging and more, codependent clients over the years. Not too, I mostly some of those people actually are like my best friends.
Yes.
They're the
Yeah.
ones that want me like, oh, like they're like, and I've had some challenging ones. I think I've been fired once or twice over the years. I can remember two specific. One was because I wouldn't market property. I wouldn't do something essentially illegal. Another,
That's, yeah.
another, I'm not really sure what happened. And I just, people are challenging right now, especially sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I'm just trying to let them know I care. I think I am reaching a point with one of them where I just might fire myself because I'm not getting it done and they're so discouraged and they're frustrated with me and I'm doing everything I can. And so I may just say, let's just get you with someone new and just get some fresh blood.
Yeah.
Because it's not
And
just,
that's a hard thing to do.
yeah, and it's not just about me. Like, it's not
Right.
just, it's like they're frustrated. We're kind of just going like this at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really haven't had very many difficult clients. I've gotten really lucky.
You're only 9 years in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
probably too. I bet if you backed me up to several transactions and said, look close, do you remember? I have a little bit of like a trauma response of like not
not
remembering.
remember it. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna, yeah, that's not gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
So, well, let me ask you a question. So, since you said that you do some yoga,
Mhm.
maybe not as much now, but in the past. So, what would you tell other women on what to do to maybe avoid burnout in this industry? Like from a physical standpoint, mental standpoint, or whatever. What is something like you can give some feedback and some inspiration to other ladies in the same position that we are?
Yeah. Well, I'm still figuring that out. I think our business is cyclical is one thing. I know we put better systems in place and we aren't as cyclical, but what I see is like we get a rush of business, we work really hard, the dopamine levels are high, we're riding this high, and then we kind of start to close it out, and then we look ahead and we've got 6 lock boxes that don't have somewhere to hang. And so I think it's just constantly being willing to pivot. So when I'm super busy, what's important is like getting my protein, getting my steps in, getting my sleep. I'd say those are like my most
Yeah.
important things. And then what tends to happen, and I'm kind of looking down the barrel of this right now, is when I start to get a little slower, is when I kind of panic. And I like all of us, we're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? But I have to reset myself and go, this is when I get to like go back to the food prepping. Maybe I get to hike more. Maybe I can do a little bit more yoga or do some heavy lifting. So it's just pivoting and being willing to be fluid. That's for me. I think a lot of real estate agents would tell you, I get up at 5 in the morning. I have a morning routine. I don't come away from my morning routine, but I do. After I do a season of heavy, heavy production, I need more sleep in the month after. I'm allowing for recovery almost as though like we're running marathons, and because we are in a way. So like I'm allowing myself to go like you just gave it everything. You were managing all these listings and these buyers. You didn't have any time off. Like it's going to be some respite now. And so avoiding burnout is kind of for me, it's learning the cycles, being willing to adapt to them and not fighting against it. If my body needs more rest, I got to give it more rest or I can't do a good job for my clients.
Yeah, I think that's excellent and what you brought up because there are the seasons where like we just came out of it, we're just like slammed and we're running around and then we got up to where we go like take a breath.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be running, 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 running all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm in it right now. I mean, I just got my firstborn off to college. That we did a ton of family stuff. We had a big Labor Day celebration with friends and family. Work is like as I look out ahead, there's some work to do. I need to get on my lead generation. I need to do some stuff. But for this week, I'm just giving
Yep.
myself some space. I just washed a bunch of produce. I'm prepping some food. I'm just getting myself into a space where I can be a high producer in maybe 2 weeks because I don't have it in me to be a high producer right now, not this week. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people, I know there's a lot of stigma around high performance habits and morning routines, but for me personally, I have to be flexible about what I ask of myself because there's some seasons or weeks or days where I need to sleep until 7:30, not 5.
Well, and
And
also
allowing that.
you have to give yourself permission to do it. Say, hey, or put the phone down. Like I just told you, I tried to do this last weekend. I was out in your area, well, out in California, away from Florida here, and it's like I'm turning the phone off.
Yeah.
I have assistants, I have other people take care of that. Yet one person was just like blowing my phone up, and I just finally turned him down. I said, stop. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be, right now we're not communicating until Wednesday, which get what today is. Wednesday.
Yeah.
Guess what my phone looks like? He finally like blah 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 blah. I said, "My God, I don't know if he can text that fast or if he's talking that fast because it's pop. I don't know what's going on." Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it becomes, yeah, I mean, that's it. This thing is just my nemesis.
yeah,
It's a little addiction. I see it in my kids. I have it
yeah.
myself.
I know.
So that's probably something I wouldn't say I'm doing to avoid burnout. It's something I probably could benefit from is maybe not getting into my email till 10, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
We just carry these little devices around that are so convenient, but they're also very disruptive.
I agree. I agree with you on that one.
Mhm.
So what happens if, like we just kind of discussed, or discussed, if you're working with a realtor, the other realtor actually isn't, because not only am I having an issue with this buyer, the other realtor's being a little bit strange, let's just say that. But what kinds of, if the other realtor is being difficult, have you had any transactions where you say, hey, what are we going to do about this? How can I fix this so that we all get this, so that we get this closed? Have you had anything like that so you can give some insight to how you may have handled it?
Yeah, so I would say for many years, up until maybe the last year in my career, I tend to allow myself to get pushed around. I'm an accommodator. I want to please everybody. I've started to have some better boundaries. And, a lot of it is like I would consider myself a leader in my industry at this point. I have rarely worked with re really challenging agents, but I have worked with a couple in the last few months. And I just lay boundaries down. And when it gets to, it's kind of like okay, first strike, second strike, third strike, I'm CCing my managing broker on all
Right.
correspondence. I don't say much. This a couple months ago, I had to say to someone, I don't appreciate the way you're interacting with me from now on. I need you to CC my broker. She'll be taking us through the, but I'm always kind. I never badmouth. I won't.
Yeah.
I have a really strong, I mean, of course, like in my home or to my husband or to
Yeah.
my best
We can
friend or
tell anybody. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
but I don't badmouth because I don't want to like shit where I eat. I we're in a pretty big small town, but the likelihood of me needing to work with these brokers again, I don't want it to impact my future clients because I've made a bad step. So mostly
Right.
boundaries, and I kind of mirror, like I try to raise the bar through my own behavior. I'm going to act really professional and I need you to meet me here. So like rather than lowering myself down to their standards, I just kind of raise mine, and then normally I have to like drag them across the finish line because I have to remember not everybody had hospitality industry training and they don't know how to be professional.
Well, and what I have tried to inform, since I am a broker and I have new
Yeah.
agents that come on and,
Hmm.
they'll bring a problem to me and I'll go, okay, let's step back. Let's figure out, is this really a problem or is this a communication issue? Are
Yes.
you just not communicating? Because first off, if you're a new agent, they're just going crazy because I can say that after 30 years, if there's anything that I haven't seen, it would be a miracle. And yet the next day I see something and go, what the heck is going on?
Mhm.
So trying to solve those issues in the beginning, but also staying on that same level. And then for me as a broker, I've got to put my foot down, or I've got to, if an agent comes to me and says this, this, and this, I go, ooh, let's talk through this. But there are some agents, like you say, in my community, I'm sure they are in yours too, that nobody wants to work with them. I mean, and it just is so hard. I
Yeah.
literally told one person, I told them they were POS, and I said, I'm never working with you again because you
Yeah.
will not work with me on anything.
Yeah.
But he did a few illegal things, and I go, oh, and I put him on up for ethical charges, and he
Yeah.
basically got caught. And so then, but everybody said to me, don't do it, don't do it. You're just gonna, I said, well, I'm still here. And I did it 20 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, but
Absolutely.
I
I
think,
haven't had too many issues. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to
well,
deal
I
with.
think sometimes as women, we have a tendency to, if they're not going to get it done, we're going to go ahead and do it because
Yeah.
we're going to make sure that the transaction closes or that the people are happy
Right.
but when that other person on the other side is not doing what needs to be done on their end and we can't get them to do it, it's a little bit harder as women to say, come on, whoever it is, just help
Yeah.
us out here. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, one of the other questions I like to ask people, and especially with the women, is like, what do you feel that other people out in the world here believe about realtors? I was a college professor, so I have a PhD, college professor. I still have people call me Dr. Tant and Doc and everything. And I mean, from a standpoint of credibility or professionalism or something. But when I became a realtor, it was just like, what do you be having a real? My mother, so funny. She's 94 years old now. She asked me, she goes, well, Cindy, what are you going to do with your degree? I go, well, I still have it, Mom. It's just
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing real estate. So, what are some of the things that you feel or have heard or something sort of misrepresenting who we are as realtors?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could write a book on this.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a strong misconception that we don't work a lot.
Number one,
I've
check.
heard that, right? When it's
Yep.
like you're not like checking, it's like I get up and like check my text messages when I go to the bathroom at 11:30 at night. Um, I think this is probably my biggest one is I think there's this stigma around realtors being sleazy and
Like the used car salesman.
yeah, yeah, the term that comes to me is douchebag, like
Yeah.
like just kind of like sleazy and ingenuine. And I just believe most of the agents that I'm closest with in our industry are incredibly like growth minded. They're seeking a better, a life of impact, a life of legacy. They're, I think I always say like we're in like a personal development industry. There's a lot of us where we're reading the self-improvement
Oh,
books,
yeah.
like, we're doing the 75 hard challenge. We're doing a lot to continue to grow and improve. I think that that's a huge thing that people just I that may be true about all entrepreneurs. I think we're just
Right.
built different. I think yeah, I mean the idea that we work a little and don't and get paid a lot. I
Right.
guess it's arguable. I think we can be really fruitful, but I think people fail to understand that like we have taxes and we have overhead and we have marketing
Right.
fees. It's like we're businesses too. But we for some reason we put ourselves out there and maybe because we don't have I've always really wrestled with imposter syndrome around not having a college
Oh,
degree.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have a college degree and
Oh, okay.
which has left me feeling undeserving of this really successful streak in my life. But like I've worked really hard. So I think just kind of just that it's easy, sleazy money, and
Yeah.
we're easy, sleazy people. And I just think that couldn't be further from the truth. Some of the
And yeah,
best friends.
I totally agree with you because
Yeah.
I have a young man who's a social media. He does TikToks and I can't
Okay.
believe Reels, TikToks, all that kind of stuff. I don't do it. He just says, go film, go video. I said, okay,
Yeah.
give me the topics. I can't believe 100,000 people have, I think it's a reel. I don't know what's the difference between the Instagrams and the reels and I don't know
Yeah.
what they all are. He just puts it out there. And like over 100,000 people have looked on a reel, yeah, where I was serving an eviction notice, like
Oh,
walking up
yeah.
to a door saying, well, when you can't get a hold of the person, they're still in the house, they won't answer your calls, they haven't paid their rent, so here's an eviction notice. And then I go stick the
Yeah.
eviction notice on the door, and that's the way you do it. Why
Yeah.
would 100,000 people even have any desire to see what I did?
Not fun.
Maybe expecting something was going to blow up on me or something. I don't know. But he gave me this task when I went out to California, and he says, "Hey, while you're out there, find yourself a good spot and give us a video of what was the easiest listing you ever had and the easiest buyer you've ever worked with." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I start looking, and I said, "Oh man, the easiest listing I ever had." And I was told it'll come out on a reel. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyways,
I'll watch it.
it was like I was sitting in the house, got the listing agreement and everything. I picked up truck, put the sign in the yard. I mean, I think I was there for an hour talking to him because I already knew him, so I knew we were going to list. And so put the sign in the yard, getting ready to leave. The neighbor comes over from around the house. He goes, "How much do you want for the house?" I said, 285,000. He goes, "Write me a contract right now." I went, what? I
Yeah.
mean, so it's like that short period of time, I think I spent 4 hours on that whole transaction because it was a cash deal and it was their neighbor. And they just
Yeah.
looked at me and I said, well, didn't you talk to them or anything? Well, no, we didn't think he'd be interested in the house.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a problem with it. Yep, you're going to get paid because they had both sides of it, closed in 7 days. It was great.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
normally doesn't happen. And
No,
so,
no, I call
so
that the real estate fairy when things like that happen.
that's cute. Yeah, that's a good one, the
Yeah.
real estate fairy. Yeah. Let me ask you, since we're talking about women in the industry and you've been in the industry a lot less time than I have. I know, I think it's still NAR still has the statistics that the average real estate agent is a 55-year-old woman. I think
Oh,
that's
I
what
didn't know that.
yeah, real estate agent, but the
Okay.
brokers are more male dominated versus women owning the brokerages. But it's still, from what I remember, I think I just checked it like, oh, maybe the beginning of the year just to find out. So, what advice, especially if someone's younger, getting into the business, what advice would you give a woman getting started in the real estate business?
I would say stay highly active and highly visible and just focus on serving. And I just think you just cannot lose. I think if you just, your heart is always leading and you're always face forward with your heart, I don't think you can fail. Every time that I start to find a peak, I'm like, hey, I just got to shake off all this fear and I'm just going to get out there. I'm going to I'm going to serve. I'm going to support people. Especially for me personally, women in business is something I've been focused on for a long time without even knowing I was networking.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I think when we're slow, we look for people to support. When we're feeling like we are needing business, we focus on where we can give business. I think it's so easy. And I think not showing up from the mentality headspace of like, I'm going to give so I can get, but I'm just going to show up and serve. And I'm just going to trust that it's the law of reciprocity, and I think women were born with this DNA flaw. I think we have a lot of self-doubt. And I think we have to do it anyway. Self-doubt doesn't go away. People are always like, you still have self-doubt, you still have imposter syndrome. And it's like every day, the more I build, the more doubt I have because the further I am from where I was. So just show up, do it anyway, and serve.
Well, do you feel, again, going back to moving forward, getting the leads that you've built, when you first got started, did you depend on or talk with everybody you knew? People, because that's what I do with my agents. I say, give me a list of 100 people. I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to send it out. We're going to say you're a new realtor. And it's just sent them off. Okay, maybe not even people they know, but people who know them, and stuff. I said, don't ever underestimate the value of that person because I'm a big person going to travel a lot, sit at the bar or whatever, talk to people. People want to talk about real estate,
Yeah.
B&B, they
Yeah.
want to talk about it. And it's crazy because I've sold 5 or 6 houses on trips, just talking to people or investment property.
Yeah.
I was out for going to cruise in Alaska last year and I was out in Seattle and I talked to this gentleman 2 weeks before I went there. He had called up, wanted information about a house I had for sale. I said, well, sure, yeah, gave me information. When would you like to see it? He says, well, I don't live there. I'm in Seattle. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be in Seattle in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So did videos, sent everything to him. Never saw the property. Went out there. He bought a house. I said,
Great.
that's a good deal.
Yeah.
But do you feel that the referrals, the people you knew in your industry, your not your father, your husband, in the buyer, I would think that the buyer men have a broad camaraderie of helping each other, you know.
Yeah. Funny enough, that we don't, there's a few other fire wives that are licensed and everyone kind of knows, they say everyone knows 10 agents. I haven't done a
Mhm.
lot of business in our fire department. There was a long stint of time where I wasn't doing business with anyone that I was spending time with. It was really weird. I remember a coach or like a mentor I had telling me, you should be in rooms that everybody in the room is referring to you or buying with you. And I was like, I'm not in the right rooms. And that took me a little bit of a shake up. Um,
Oh, okay.
Big
That's
shake up.
interesting.
And
Yeah,
now everyone I sit with is somehow supporting me, even if maybe their sister's a real estate agent, so they do business with their sister. They're still like telling me about their social media person or sharing a book with me.
right.
Support is support is support. And if I'm growing, then I'm growing. And so, yes, I think it's important to stay in front of people. I went through that whole thing. I did coaching with the core for a long time, where it's like I had to call my people each day and
Yeah.
stuff. It, I think when I started focusing more on just finding the right rooms to be in and being in them with a whole heart, that's when it really took off.
I think someone said to me the other day, you're like a, not the other day, it's been some time, but they said you're a natural connector.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
put people with the right people. People always call me to want to know
Yes.
who's the plumber, who's the electrician,
Same.
who's the, how can I do this? Who's the best? So by having the years of experience and they know I have a good vendor list, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
but because I weeded out as many bad people as I can,
Yes.
but they're always, and I think, like you say, sharing, and it doesn't have to be just buying or selling a house all the time. It's
Absolutely.
it's just okay. They'll contact me to say, well, who would you refer? So and so, blah 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 blah, and
Yeah.
I just share with it,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and yeah, and it's not just in real estate. It's in like your what your veterinarian,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. I mean, I have people call me for plumbers and I have
yeah.
people call me because they want me to set them up with a partner. I mean, who do you know? So I
It
think
is.
that's a huge, and that's just having trust and knowing people know that I'll help them find someone. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to find it.
And
And
sometimes it's frustrating because you do all this. I have a social group for my referrals. It's called Flip Flop Nation. And
okay.
so I do socially a couple events a year, baseball game. It's always on my mom's birthday since she's now 94. We started it at 88, where,
Okay.
I rent a party deck, invite all my friends and group and referral, people that I've been in business for a while. Like I think you said, we had a softball coach or something. I think I looked up something where their son or someone just bought.
Oh yeah, yeah. My
Yeah,
high school softball coach and
yeah,
my
that their
and my
son
wood
bought
shop
it.
teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I've been in the business that long too. That not only do I
Yeah.
have the parents and the kids, I have their kids now. It's like, "Whoa,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah, it's
um,
so rewarding to be trusted with people that you trusted once.
I know, and I think our industry allows that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our ups and downs.
Hmm.
Through the years. I wanted to finish up with what would you like to relieve? First off, how can we get in contact with you? How can we find you, like your Instagram or website or Facebook or whatever? And any other way you'd like to, or any last minute nuggets you'd like to share with the ladies that may be listening to you in the future?
Yeah, so I have a personal or business Instagram page. My personal is Chaney Compher. My business page is Comfort Group Real Estate LLC. Facebook, same, Chaney Compher, and then maybe Comfort Group Real Estate LLC. It could be Comfort Sells Homes, but I'm in Washington. Southwest Washington is the area I serve. If anyone needs help. And then, I would just say, like, ladies, just we're always changing, we're always evolving. And when we can learn to just honor that, I'm like literally practicing what I preach here. I think that's kind of where the magic is in that space of surrender, and that we're kind of always changing and evolving in our business and in this industry. Obviously, we all have had a lot of changes in the last year with the NAR lawsuit and stuff. So,
Oh,
I
that's a
think,
whole nother several podcasts.
yeah, but like it's like I remember just knowing I refuse to get stopped here. I refuse to panic. I refuse to, I'm just going to pivot around this. Like we have to pivot around everything. And the biggest thing that I think is that we just have to be adaptable. And in order to be adaptable, we have to be healthy, mind, body, and spirit. And I know for me personally, when I'm not healthy, mind, body, and spirit, I'm not as adaptable. When I'm not adaptable, I don't do as well in business.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today at Sip Sell Repeat. And I'm going to end this right now on that high note. I'm going to have to go back and get the write down the recording of what you said at the very end there. Thank you for your wisdom and sharing your time with us. And anyone that wants to do some referral work out in Washington where you're at, we'll get in contact with you and we will catch up with you. So thank you again for
Thank you.
sharing all those
Yeah.
words of wisdom. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Sip, Sell, Repeat. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another powerhouse woman in real estate. Got a topic you want me to cover? Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep sipping, keep selling, and keep repeating that cycle of success. Cheers to you and your next big deal.